experience here a couple of weekends ago, or last weekend. I was down here. I had to do some things around the building here, and I went down to the Lowe's that's right down the street here. And of course, they always have Girl Scouts out there, and so all these cute little girls are out there selling Girl Scout cookies, and they get you when you're going in the door. And I said, no, thank you, darling. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to jump on these little, 6 and 7 year old girls.
I always do.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you do.
I talk to the den mother.
You try to make them cry, but I'm not into that. But anyway, so I just go on past and go in, and then when I'm coming back out, there's another group at the exit door, and they jump on me. And the little girl says, "Mister, would you like to buy some cookies?" And I said, "No, thank you, darling." And I just walk on. Well, one of the moms that was there, just watching over these kids, and she wasn't trying to be offensive or anything. She just kind of teased me. Said, "Are you sure you don't want any Girl Scout cookies?" And I'm willing to kind of just blow it off and say, "No, thank you, I'm moving on." And but she kind of insistent. And finally, I asked her to come over for a minute, and I said, out of earshot of the kids, and I said, I'm not going to buy Girl Scout cookies because of their affiliation with abortion through Planned Parenthood, and some of the people that they have running Girl Scouts GSUSA. I said, these people are radical pro-aborts, and they got all these connections. And she said, "Oh, that's absolutely not true. I would never be involved in something like that." And I said, "Ma'am, you better go do some research," because I said, "I'm not saying that you, and I certainly would not say anything to these little girls sitting here, but you need to go check out and see what you're being involved in." And it's kind of like all the people that were involved with Susan G. Komen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly the same.
And we had that experience, at the Fort Worth Cats game that we talked about earlier, where I jumped on this woman, and we were going at it hammer and tong, and then you stepped in and played Mr. Nice Guy. You were the good cop, and I was the bad cop.
I'm always the good cop.
You're always the good cop. But anyway, it's a similar situation to that. And so anyway, I just left this. I don't know if she went and researched it. I said, before you're out here again, maybe you ought to go research this and see if you really want to be supportive.
I think you handled that excellently, by the way. Just because it is good, we need to disperse the information and get it out to the adults. While not necessarily, it's not good for us to be attacking 6-year-olds either, and for that to be showing up that this is what pro-lifers do.
I don't think it's attacking them, no,
get
Destiny.
The information out.
I've done this with the Boy Scouts, and I've done this with the Girl Scouts. When you're walking into the store, I say, "I'm sorry, I would really love to support them, and I was a Scout. I'd love to do this, but unfortunately, with the recent decisions of the Boy Scouts, I cannot support them." And then you'll get a thumbs up, thumbs down. And the same thing with the Girl Scouts. I'm sorry, because of their affiliation with Planned Parenthood and what they do, and the little kids, they don't know that, but then they're left asking the questions of their mom or the den mother, whatever they call them, "What's a Planned Parenthood?" Then they're forced to discuss the issue. I'd rather do it that way, because then that begins the conversation.
Yeah, well, I chose the other way, and anyway.
There's no right or wrong way, but that's what I do.
Well, anyway, this thing is kind of growing, and I think that the Girl Scouts have handled it poorly. They'd have probably been better off just to ignore it and going about their business. And
exactly.
Nobody would have made a big deal out of it. We've got a friend here of Life Dynamics and Life Talk, Steve Ertelt from, he's the editor of LifeNews.com. Hello, Stephen.
How are you doing?
Just fine, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. First off, before we get to the issue of what happened with you guys, tell us a little bit about, so people who haven't heard this before, some of the connections between the Girl Scouts and abortion through Planned Parenthood.
Well, unfortunately, the Girl Scouts have had a long-standing connection to Planned Parenthood that actually dates back to the 1970s. We've seen some news articles come up the last 24 hours that show Planned Parenthood basically giving workshop talks at Girl Scout events, the Girl Scouts having staff people or leaders that have leadership positions in the Girl Scouts and also have leadership positions or staff positions with Planned Parenthood. So this is actually a decades-long connection that these two organizations have had. But obviously more recently, going back a few years to a former CEO saying they have a relationship with Planned Parenthood, different organizations that are pushing Planned Parenthood at different levels, whether it's in local troops or internationally with the International Girl Scouts. So there are connections that have been going on for a long time, and lots of big things, lots of little things that they've done to promote not just Planned Parenthood, but also abortion advocates as well, pro-abortion people, whether they be elected officials or activists of some sort. So there's been lots of connections and lots of ties over the years, and Life News has been doing our part in trying to educate people and make them aware of these ties.
Yes, you have done a very good job of that, and just to give people some actual examples, a woman named Kelly Parisi is currently national spokesperson for Girl Scouts. She was formerly a spokesperson for the Ms. Foundation, founded by Gloria Steinem, radically pro-abortion. 17 different Girl Scout councils admit to partnering with Planned Parenthood in sex ed programs and in other things. Had Ann Richards as a speaker years ago. They currently are having this thing of promoting 7 Inspiring Women of 2013. 2 of these women are Kathleen Sebelius, that is as radically pro-abortion as anybody on the face of the earth and a complete moral degenerate. And another one of the same ilk, our current abortion Barbie here in Texas, Wendy Davis. Wendy Davis.
There you go.
And, it's just, they're promoting these women as people that we should encourage, or role models that we should encourage our daughters to look up to. Do you want your...
No, I don't.
You do not want your daughter looking up to these women?
Absolutely not.
Do you want your daughters looking up to these women?
No, I want them outside with signs.
Right.
All over the rallies.
I've got a question for Stephen. Is Girl Scouts USA, is it a 501c3 organization, and can we see any financial ties to Planned Parenthood? Are they donating to Planned Parenthood like Susan G. Komen was?
I haven't seen any of that, but really the connections are more inviting Planned Parenthood to be a part of events. The Girl Scouts in Waco, Texas are one of the first that got a lot of attention for co-sponsoring a sex ed conference with Planned Parenthood. During that conference, they pushed a book written by a Planned Parenthood executive who was this book was given to all the children who were attending this particular conference.
Wow.
And the book says abortion can be a positive experience. So here are the Girl Scouts linking with America's biggest abortion business, is telling young girls, hey, whenever you're pregnant, if you're considering an abortion, this is going to be a positive experience for you. This is something that supposedly is good for you. So this is the kind of thing we're talking about. It's getting involved. And mention was made just a few minutes ago of 17 Girl Scout councils that reported having a relationship when asked in the survey if they have a relationship with Planned Parenthood. That doesn't sound like a big number, but that's 17 out of just a few dozen that actually bothered to respond to the survey. If you do the math of those that responded to the survey, that's 25% of all Girl Scout troops responding, saying they have a relationship with Planned Parenthood.
Wow.
And of course, about 250 didn't even bother to respond. So we have no idea just how many Girl Scout councils have some sort of relationship with Planned Parenthood, which begs the question, what are they doing with Planned Parenthood? Are they having these kinds of workshops and conferences where Planned Parenthood officials are coming in and pushing, their sexual education agenda, their abortion agenda, what have you? What's going on here? And that's a big question a lot of people need to begin asking.
Absolutely.
Wow. This infuriates me. It really does, because these mothers and these den mothers, they have to know what's going on.
Yeah.
They have to. They can't be in denial.
Right. Well, they are, though. And like I said, the woman that I told you about when you came back on that Monday morning, I told you I had that experience down here at Lowe's. When I was looking at her, I didn't think for a minute that she was lying to me. I think she honestly didn't know.
Really?
Yeah. This particular woman, I'm not saying all of them are like that, but I'm saying this woman honestly didn't know. And she may not be in a leadership position. She may just be a mom that they got to watch over these kids to protect them while they're at Lowe's.
I'm sure that's all it was.
I'm sure.
Now, the big story here is that Life News is being threatened.
Yes, tell us about that, Stephen. Tell us what happened. The Girl Scouts didn't like you exposing their connections to Planned Parenthood.
That's right. They sent us a nasty letter. They sent us the kind of cease and desist letter that big organizations like the Girl Scouts or Planned Parenthood, or in our case, the NAACP last year, send to pro-life groups or others to try and intimidate them to get them to stop speaking the truth. The letter basically said, you need to stop using our logo in association with any news reports that you do about the Girl Scouts, which of course is a complete and total distraction from the issue, which is they want us to stop talking about their link to Planned Parenthood and the pro-abortion agenda that they're pushing. Naturally, our attorneys have responded. We are represented by great attorneys from the Alliance Defending Freedom. They basically said, go jump in a lake. You don't have a leg to stand on, because as you would see with any news entity, and Mark, you talked about Lowe's earlier, say you see a newspaper report or a local television report on what's going on. Maybe Lowe's is opening a brand new location in their community. Well, you would see pictures of a Lowe's building, which would have the Lowe's logo, or you'd see maybe just the logo, you know, up there in the corner as you've got that person on your local news talking about what's going on in your community with the new business. You'd see the Lowe's logo in the corner. Perfectly fine, perfectly legitimate to use that. It's fair use. It's that thing called the First Amendment that, amazingly enough, our founding fathers thought we ought to have free speech in this country. And so in the same way, we have free speech to use their logo in association with news stories. So it's a complete non-issue. The real issue is they want to intimidate Life News. They want Life News to stop talking about their links to Planned Parenthood, the way they push, as you spoke about earlier, people like Kathleen Sebelius or Wendy Davis. That's what they want us to do, is to stop speaking the truth. And, of course, we have no plans to do that.
Well, good. And don't.
Good for you.
Don't have any plans to do that. You know, every time, and I get these cease and desist letters occasionally, when we came out with the PlannedParenthood.com website, Planned Parenthood's attorneys, you know, contacted us and said, oh, you're too close to our name, and you can't do that, and we're ordering you right now to cease and desist, pull that website down, destroy any, you know. And I did the same thing. I told them, look, if you think we've done something improper here, that's what they make courtrooms for. Yeah. You know, file your suit. Don't threaten me. Just do it. Right. Don't send me a cease and desist letter. If you're going to sue me, just sue me. Don't threaten to sue me. Just do it. I haven't heard of it.
Well, the other part of what we did was invited Girl Scouts to have a dialogue with us. In our response, you know, because in their initial letter they said, oh, we don't have any relationship with Planned Parenthood and this is false and what have you. And we invited them to dialogue to say, okay, if there is anything in our Life News articles that's erroneous, if we've reported something that's not true, let us know and let's talk about this and find ways to maybe correct the record. And of course, they haven't responded to that at all.
And the other part of that, Stephen, is they're not going to respond.
Absolutely.
Because they know you caught them with their drawers down, and that's just the way it is. There's nothing they can do about it. Well, thanks for joining us, Stephen, and you guys keep up the good work.
Mark, we sure appreciate it. Thanks for all you guys are doing.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks.
This really has my wheels turning. Is there a way that I can start a Girl Scout group? And if the only rule is I have to talk about Margaret Sanger or Wendy Davis for an hour,
I'll talk about her.
10 little girls, I would love to do that. I think that would be amazing.
You know, Mark, you know, there's probably a lot of mothers, parents, or whatnot at home, and who may say, you know, oh well, there's no harm in having these relationships or allowing Planned Parenthood to come in and have these talks or workshops or whatnot. What I would say to that is that, you know, this is one of the strengths of Planned Parenthood, is to be able to allow, have the opportunity to make the Planned Parenthood brand as the expert as it relates to sex in the minds of these young children. And so that way, when they start to engage in sex and they need unplanned pregnancies, they're going to turn to this brand that they've known from a very young age to have or to rely on the expertise of what I should do during this pregnancy or how I should handle this pregnancy. And I think that's been one of the major challenges, is that, you know, we've had to be able to overcome the years and years of branding themselves as the expert in that field in the young minds of these young people.
It's not really branding as much as it's brainwashing.
Or brainwashing.
Right.
You're indoctrinating youth. It would be like sending Marlboro in to talk about lung health or something.
Right.
Like, I mean, you're sending people who are going to profit with the ultimate demise of these children's morality.